Jim Joyce of This Week in Pharma. We're delighted to bring you our third episode of this of the video podcast. Our objective with this podcast is really to provide relevant and interesting content from the leaders within the pharmaceutical industry, leaders of divisions, and people that understand the trends as to where the pharmaceutical industry is moving. So we're pleased to have with us today the Senior Vice President of Pharma Development and Market Access from Walgreens, Mr. Jeff Berkowitz. Jeff, pleasure to have you with us here today.
Thanks, Jim.
So, Jeff, so just before, one little housekeeping item. For some of the people that have been watching the podcast, they just commented that the This Week in Pharma has been a bit aspirational in terms of the name. It's taken us a few months to get our podcast together, but we're sure that we're going to, by probably this time next year, we will be producing these podcasts on a regular basis. So with us today, the subject, just to take you a little bit through, our choice of experts and subject matter. We have with us Jeff Berkowitz, and I'd just like to give you a little bit of his background and just talk about his background a little bit and why we've asked him to speak with us today. Jeff has really led within the industry, certainly been a large voice in an area within the pharmaceutical industry called market access. And Jeff is going to take a few minutes and just explain to us what is market access and why is this so important. But it's probably one of the most fundamental trends that is happening within the industry. But just putting that aside for a second here, I just want to describe Jeff's background. Jeff, how many years have you been in the pharmaceutical industry now, or related?
13 actually, lucky 13.
Okay, so Jeff's been in 13 years, and then with Jeff's background, I got to know Jeff at Schering-Plough when he was actually working as internal legal counsel at Schering-Plough, and he was working on some specific areas. And Jeff made this really fascinating decision to go from being, I'm assuming, a very successful healthcare attorney to then moving into the commercial end of the business. So the first question I had for you, Jeff, is tell us a little bit about the decision from going from being a healthcare attorney advising the pharmaceutical industry, which I'm sure there's no shortage of work there, to going into leading commercial organizations. And just give us a little bit of insight into that decision and why you made the decision and what you struggled with about that and what was easy.
Okay, great. Great question. I actually get that question a lot from lawyers who want to leave the legal profession and ask how I moved over to the business. And it was actually really just one of those unique career moments and a lot of serendipity. I was working in the law department. I had been a lawyer for about 10 years. I came from a large firm in Manhattan and went over to Schering-Plough in the law department when they were looking for healthcare lawyers. There was a lot going on with Medicare fraud and abuse and things like that, and they wanted to have some expertise. And I practiced in the law department at Schering-Plough for about 4 years, doing managed care contracting and supporting some of the business units. At that time, the oncology biotech business unit as one of them. And I happened to be traveling with the then vice president of managed care at Schering-Plough on a contract issue with one of our largest managed care customers. We ended up getting stuck in the airport for about 10 hours and had a conversation. We really didn't know each other that well. And next thing you knew, about 2 weeks later, he asked me if I would consider moving over to the business side.
Okay.
And it was that funny, and I said absolutely not. It was I'm married to a lawyer. I put myself through law school. I was always going to be a lawyer. I met with our general counsel, who said that he didn't think it was a good idea to move over to the business side. Yeah. And I finally decided to give it a try. This was in about January of 2002. I made the leap, and really within a week or two, I never looked back. And now that it's almost 8 or 9 years later, I don't even really consider myself to be a lawyer anymore.
Okay, great. And so when you look back at that kind of difficult decision, not to pry too much into it, but to go from being an expert in a space and then moving into this other space, what after you made that move? So you made the decision. You probably had some probably fairly persuasive senior manager convincing you along the way to make that decision, and then you made it. what was real easy about the transition, and what was really difficult, just going from being an expert in a space to then actually being a little bit more of a commercial generalist?
Yeah, I think what was important about it was really, having the accountability. And that's even why I moved in-house from a law firm. When you're at a law firm, you work on specific projects and you work on this certain piece of the project, but you never really see the entire picture. When I moved in-house to a pharmaceutical company, it really allowed you at least to see the entire business that was in front of you. But even when you're in the law department, you're not necessarily accountable for the results. You're a part of that team. What was great about moving to the business side is really owning and being accountable for whatever the particular business result was. So I was actually really surprised when I moved over about how exciting and dynamic and intellectually challenging it really was. You're in a law department with a lot of lawyers, and at Schering-Plough it was very much like a law firm. We had, close to 100 lawyers, and you felt like you were working within a law firm. And, but you move over to the business side and you realize that there are just so many dynamic issues going on, and there's such a wide variety of them outside, just one piece of them is the legal issues, which really made it interesting. I think probably one of the bigger challenges were the people management aspects of it. It was really, while I had associates that I had mentored or managed before, I had never, actually directly managed people. And here I was going from the law department to really being responsible for sales and marketing and managed care of a team of over 150 account managers in very sophisticated segments. So that was definitely one of the more interesting challenges at the outset.
Okay. And then, you're now, and I remember this now, you came in and you started working in, a really dynamic area within the company we were both part of at Schering-Plough. Managed care was something that the company prided itself on in terms of how it was approaching payers and dealing with